media did try to paint her out as the reason why Snow White flopped because of her expressing her political views, even though her co-star, who I shall not name, also had shared her political views. She still got invited to the Met Gala, but she will not be attending.
Sounds like you're one of the only ones there, just like Rachel Zegler, as it turns out, and we part with this video of Rachel Zegler alone in a theater watching herself. One of the most unlikable humans
That
ever.
is sadder than when the original Snow White eats the apple.
Rachel Zegler just experienced the most humiliating moment of her career. Live on a London stage with almost no one watching. The young actress who once called Snow White's prince a stalker now faces a different kind of horror story, performing her dream role in a legendary musical to row after row of empty seats. And the worst part? There's nowhere to hide when you're standing center stage.
I'm a narcissist.
Witnesses report seeing her visibly shaken during curtain calls, the emotional weight of performing to a half-empty theater finally cracking through her professional facade. When she was cast as Eva Perón in Andrew Lloyd Webber's iconic musical, industry insiders called it a genius move, a chance to showcase her vocal talents and rebuild her public image through live performance. But that plan has backfired in the most visible way possible.
Amelia Zelaya Amado. So I actually met Rachel Zegler in New York after her Broadway show performing Romeo and Juliet, and let me just say I have a couple opinions on her after meeting her in person. First, I will say I completely understand how people took what she said about Snow White and how she promoted that and just took it negatively, because I did too. Like, I genuinely did not like the way that she was talking about her character and stuff, but I have to say that in person, oh my god, she is so sweet, and not only that, she is ridiculously talented. Like, in that show, her singing actually blew me away. I've never heard anyone sing that well in person. I can't explain it. It was just amazing. I know there are some clips on TikTok where people secretly record the show. I highly recommend you guys go watch that, because her riffs were insane, and she only had like one singing part, but that was my favorite part of the entire show. She is genuinely really talented and a nice person. I just think that the way that she talks and the way that she presents herself to the camera does not always bode well with people, but that doesn't make her a bad person. So yeah, that's my unpopular opinion on her.
The West End revival of Evita at the prestigious London Palladium should have been Rachel's triumphant comeback after the Snow White disaster. Instead, it's become a public display of her fading star power. Despite the venue's massive 2,286-seat capacity, recent performances have seen entire sections sitting vacant. Tickets that normally command premium prices for Andrew Lloyd Webber productions are now being slashed to just £29.50 and still going unsold. Even with this legendary musical's built-in fan base, the booking website shows alarming availability across June, July, and August performances. Something that would be unheard of for a production of this caliber with a genuinely popular lead.
More to do with Gal Gadot calling out Rachel Zegler and putting her in the hot seat, as well as Disney when bringing up the production issues for Snow White. Now, Gal delivered the following: the most important thing when you are working on a film is teamwork, and when you have characters like the Evil Queen and Snow White, you expect teamwork to play a role in the creative process when you are trying to put something special together. We didn't really have teamwork, and there were many setbacks that we had to deal with during this entire process, and I just found that to be very exhausting. When you are acting, you expect your co-stars and the creatives to go all the way and to support each other, and we just didn't meet those expectations.
Theater critics reviewing the show have gone out of their way to avoid mentioning the elephant in the room, all those empty seats glaring back at the performers night after night. But this empty theater situation didn't happen in a vacuum. Ever since Rachel made those infamous comments about Snow White, dismissing the original story as weird and criticizing core elements fans hold dear, public goodwill has evaporated faster than morning dew. In a series of press interviews that went viral for all the wrong reasons, she repeatedly emphasized how she was reimagining and fixing a beloved classic.
The cartoon was made 85 years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power and what a woman is fit for in the world. And so when we came to reimagining the actual role of Snow White, it became about the fairest of them all, meaning who is the most just and who can become a fantastic leader. And the reality is, Snow White has to learn a lot of lessons about coming into her own power before she can come into power over a kingdom.
She called the prince a stalker, dismissed Snow White's desire to find love as outdated, and suggested the original animated film needed modern correction. Fans who grew up with the story felt lectured to rather than included in a fresh take on a treasured memory. The backlash was swift and merciless. Social media exploded with criticism. Fan edits comparing her statements to the original animation gained millions of views, and hashtags like #NotMySnowWhite began trending worldwide. What started as controversy quickly evolved into a PR nightmare, with Disney executives reportedly panicking behind closed doors as test screening reactions came back overwhelmingly negative. Despite throwing additional millions into reshoots and emergency editing sessions, the damage was done. Disney poured nearly $600 million into production and marketing for Snow White, only to see it barely cross the $200 million mark at the box office.
Sound like I hear a couple of people, too.
That level of financial devastation sent ripples through Disney's entire live-action remake schedule, reportedly causing them to quietly shelve their planned Tangled adaptation. One actress's comments managed to damage not just her own project, but future productions as well. Industry insiders revealed that Disney's marketing team had to completely pivot their strategy, scrapping original promotional materials that heavily featured Rachel's interviews and focusing instead on the visual spectacle of the film, a last-ditch effort that ultimately failed to save the project. The brutal reality of live theater is that there's no editing suite to save you and no camera angles to hide the empty seats. When Hamilton hit Broadway, getting tickets was like winning the lottery. When Dear Evan Hansen premiered, fans camped overnight for a chance to see it. 6. Hadestown and Back to the Future. The musical all consistently sell out their runs with far less recognizable stars. Yet, here's Rachel Zegler in one of musical theater's most iconic roles, and you could walk up to the box office tonight and have your pick of premium seats.
I mean, people thought my whole trajectory was fake, and sometimes I wake up and I think my whole trajectory is fake, but it's just a testament to taking chances.
What makes this particularly devastating is that Evita isn't some experimental new production or obscure revival. It's a bona fide theatrical classic with built-in demand. The role of Eva Peron launched Madonna into a new phase of her career and cemented Patti LuPone as a Broadway legend. The music is iconic, the story compelling, and the production values for this revival are reportedly spectacular. Under normal circumstances, this show would be the hottest ticket in London. Instead, social media users are sharing images of the booking website, showing vast seas of available seats, night after night. One viral TikTok shows a user clicking through an entire week of performances, revealing hundreds of unsold tickets for each show. Theater professionals are calling it unprecedented. A production with this pedigree simply doesn't struggle to fill seats unless something is seriously wrong. Theater doesn't care about your Instagram followers or PR team's spin. It only measures success in bodies filling seats and applause that either shakes the rafters or echoes sadly in a half-empty house. For an actor, there's no more immediate feedback than looking out during your bow and seeing just how many people bothered to show up. Each night, as Rachel takes her final bow, those empty seats deliver a verdict far more honest than any press release or curated social media post could ever provide. Industry executives have placed massive bets on Rachel Zegler, from West Side Story to Snow White to Hunger Games, but they skipped a crucial step, making sure audiences actually connected with her first. Now they're watching as their handpicked next big thing performs to empty seats night after night. The disconnect between industry perception and public reception couldn't be more stark. While entertainment news continues to label her as rising star Rachel Zegler, actual ticket-buying audiences are voting with their wallets and staying home. The fallout extends beyond just Rachel herself. Reports suggest tension behind the scenes of Snow White, with Gal Gadot allegedly expressing frustration about unprofessional behavior during production. While Gadot hasn't named names specifically, the timeline of events and subsequent press tour dynamics speak volumes. Industry insiders noted that Gadot and Zegler rarely appeared together during promotional events, with separate interview schedules that limited their interaction. A stark contrast to the usual buddy dynamic studios try to showcase between co-stars.
I'm the hottest person in the world.
Insufferable, whiny brat.
Several crew members from the Snow White set have anonymously shared stories with entertainment blogs about difficulties during filming. One production assistant described the atmosphere as walking on eggshells, while another mentioned creative differences that caused regular delays. While these reports don't directly name Rachel, the timing and context leave little doubt about who was at the center of these tensions. Even more telling is the response from power players who once championed her. Steven Spielberg, who initially handpicked Rachel for Snow White after directing her in West Side Story and reportedly called her the next big thing, has remained noticeably silent as the controversy has unfolded. When asked about Rachel in recent interviews promoting his latest project, he skillfully pivoted to discussing other young talents he's worked with. Disney executives who once proudly presented Rachel as the face of their new princess universe now carefully talk about the film rather than its star when discussing Snow White. When industry titans start creating distance, it's rarely a positive sign for someone's career trajectory. Hollywood is notoriously risk-averse, and no one wants to be associated with a potential liability. The entertainment business runs on relationships and reputations. Once you develop a label as difficult or box office poison, those whispers can follow you for years. What we're witnessing isn't necessarily the end of Rachel Zegler's career, but it's definitely a brutal reality check. Hollywood can manufacture magazine covers, award nominations, and prime casting opportunities. But it can't manufacture genuine audience connection, and while Rachel absolutely possesses vocal talent and screen presence, she made a critical error by seeming to lecture the very fans she needed to win over. Fan reactions on social media highlight this disconnect. One viral comment that received over 200,000 likes read, "I don't doubt she can sing and act, but why does she talk down to us in every interview?" Another widely shared sentiment noted, "It's possible to update classic stories without insulting people who loved the originals." The problem wasn't her talent, it was her approach. The entertainment industry is littered with stories of promising careers that stalled not because of lack of talent, but because audiences simply never warmed to the person behind the performances. For every Robert Downey Jr. who manages a spectacular comeback, dozens of once promising stars fade into obscurity when the public decides they're just not interested anymore. Rachel's situation is particularly instructive because it reveals how quickly the modern audience can turn. In today's social media landscape, public perception can shift overnight. One poorly worded interview or dismissive comment can undo years of careful brand building. And unlike previous eras where studios could control the narrative through carefully managed press, today's audiences have direct access to unfiltered statements through TikTok clips, Instagram Lives, and Twitter exchanges. The studios aren't announcing any dramatic changes to their Rachel Zegler strategy. That's not how Hollywood works. Instead, we're seeing the quiet phase out. Fewer announcements, delayed projects, and a subtle distancing as executives cut their losses. It's the entertainment industry equivalent of ghosting someone after a few uncomfortable dates. What makes this situation so fascinating is that Rachel Zegler represents a larger Hollywood miscalculation. In their rush to find fresh faces who could speak to social issues and modernize classic stories, they forgot that audiences still need to genuinely connect with these performers first. Talent matters, but so does authenticity and the ability to bring fans along on your journey rather than talking down to them. When Rachel dismissed beloved classics and seemed more interested in reshaping stories than honoring what made them special, she lost that crucial audience trust. The stark reality of performing to a half-empty theater night after night might be the wake-up call needed here. There's no PR spin that can disguise empty seats, no camera angle that can hide rows of vacant premium spots, and no box office reporting trick that can manufacture actual ticket sales. Every night that Rachel takes the stage at the London Palladium, she's facing the unfiltered truth about where her career currently stands. Will this experience change her approach?